What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So today I am going to be talking about another company that is set to benefit massively from the rapid adoption of augmented reality, virtual reality, and 3D modeling. Now, this is a company that provides me a great hedge against my Next Tech AR bet, and if you guys haven't seen those videos, be sure to check them out. I'll link them up over here, because they're another company that will benefit big and will be a big player in this space, I believe. But the reason for this is this gives me, like I said, a good hedge against that bet. So today's video is going to be broken up into four main segments, with the business overview being the first, then we'll get into some Q3 metrics, then the financials, and then finally the valuation and why I'm super bullish not only on this stock, but on this industry. Now, the company that we'll be talking about today is Unity Software, ticker symbol U, and right now they currently trade at about $110 a share. And one of the reasons that I'm really excited about this company is because there's really only one other competitor, and they're not even a public company, so this is really the only pure play on this industry. And this is also a company that just recently IPO'd about 2 months ago in September, and so far have gained more than 60%, so they are definitely in an uptrend, and the valuation, which we'll get into later, has also gone up quite a bit. And if you guys want me to cover more stocks that are in this rapidly growing industry, be sure to hit the like button, because that shows me that you guys want more content like this. So with that being said, let's get right into today's video. So I actually found this stock while I was going through ARK Investments ETF holdings for the ARK K fund. Now it's way down here at the bottom with about $96 million in shares, and it only accounts for less than 1% of the total fund. But it's one that excites me because they are players in the 3D, augmented reality, and virtual reality industry, which, if you're new to the channel, is an industry that I'm very bullish on over the next 10 to 20 years. And the fact that they are in the disruptive innovation ETF should say a lot by itself. So the gaming industry is where Unity really started, and now has a reputation as the go-to software that developers are using today. And as we all know, the gaming industry is rapidly growing, and before we know it, games will have augmented reality and virtual reality features that can be created using Unity software. Everything from mobile games to PC and console games can all be created on their platform, and it's really this versatility that has made Unity so popular for the gaming industry. It's really lowered the barrier to entry and has allowed people like you and me to go out and create games without needing to work at a giant firm like Take-Two Interactive or Activision. And the crazy thing about their software is it has the capabilities to make simple games you play on your phone, as well as massive multiplayer games like Apex Legends, which could have hundreds of thousands of players playing at any given moment. So this technology has to be powerful enough to keep up with the insane processing power required to run these types of games. Now, the next segment is the construction industry, and I can speak firsthand on this because I actually work for a commercial construction company that oversees the construction of everything from hospitals and schools to office buildings. And let me tell you, AR and VR are pushing the construction industry to the next level in terms of constructability and minimizing risk. It has really become common practice in the industry to use BIM 3D modeling to help identify clashes between mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems before the project even begins. And what this does is it really saves projects both time and money. So this is technology that is being widely adopted by pretty much any major construction company. And the actual construction isn't the only phase of a project using this technology. Architects are using it to bring projects to life during the design and development phase, allowing developers and owner groups to see what their office building or stadium will look like well before even hiring a construction company. So this will be another massive segment for them moving into the future. Now, construction and gaming might seem obvious, but the automotive industry is also using Unity software to power the future of driving technology. Companies like Volvo are using their software to experiment with virtual vehicles where changes can be made even before making the physical clay models. So this really does help improve improve the design process of new vehicles. Now they are also using Unity for machine learning training to improve self-driving vehicles before they even get on the road. And I want to show you guys this clip real quick just to prove how much potential AR and VR have in this industry, and then we'll move on to the Q3 metrics.
We needed to simulate different scenarios to test them internally with the real car on the road. I was the first one, and I was pushing its limits. I was driving a real model, and I could switch between virtual models overlaid perfectly. Hey, can we actually test how rain will look and the wipers performance? It's like, oh yeah, I have some rain. I could add the moose in front of the car and see how it will react to those changes. And everything was super fast because we were running Unity from the back seats.
So like I mentioned earlier, Unity is the basis of most apps that we use today, and it shows when there are 5 billion monthly app downloads that were built using the Unity software. Now, in addition to this, 94 out of the top 100 gaming development companies are actual customers of Unity, as well as the top 10 auto OEMs. So they clearly have a ton of demand for their software. Now, looking at how this translates to Q3 growth, we can see that revenue grew 53% year over year to $201 million, which is really strong and definitely puts them in that high growth stock category. And it's not just Q3 that grew by a lot. When you add up the revenue for the first 3 quarters of 2019 versus 2020, this year's revenue year to date is up so far 44% year over year, which tells me that they will at the very least grow revenue by more than 40% for the full year. So this is definitely what I'm looking for as a long-term hold. Now they also reported a non-GAAP operating margin of -4%, which is only 1% better than last quarter, but you can see from the graph that over the last 7 quarters, this has gotten much better and is trending towards being positive. So I do expect this to hopefully happen sometime in 2021. So before moving on to the financials, I do want to touch on 2 more metrics from this quarter because these are important metrics to look at each and every quarter to see how they are improving. The first is the dollar-based net expansion rate, which if you watched my Cloudflare video is a key metric because one of the ways software companies grow revenue is by getting existing customers to spend more each year. And in Q2 and Q3, Unity saw this metric increase substantially to more than 140%, which is actually pretty crazy when you think about it. That means customers that spent $100,000 in 2019 are now spending $145,000. And I do expect this number to remain this high for at least the next couple quarters as we continue to work in this safer at home environment. Now the next metric is the percent of their revenue that comes from customers paying more than $100,000. In Q3, they saw 72% of their revenue coming from these high paying customers, so almost 3/4 of their revenue is coming from major developers that use their software for the basis of all their apps and games. And what this means is that they are more than likely not going to switch products and go to one of the competitors. And judging by the dollar-based net expansion rate, this tells me that customers are very happy with Unity's products and continue to use more and more of their solutions. So now that we've covered Unity's Q3 metrics, let's get into their income statement and balance sheet because these are definitely important to look at. So looking at their income statement, we already talked about the high revenue growth. So what I want to do is break down how they spent this money to better understand just how far off they are from becoming a profitable company. Because for the first 9 months of 2020, their net loss grew to $200 million, which is no small number when your revenues are less than $1 billion. So looking at their income statement, the numbers that stand out the most to me is the research and development and the general administrative costs. So starting with R&D, this increased from $65 million in 2019 to $116 million in this most recent quarter, which is not necessarily the worst thing in the world to me because I personally like when companies reinvest back into the business, and that's why it's important to have a healthy balance sheet to fund that kind of growth, which of course we'll get into in just a second. Now, G&A expenses also increased by more than 200% year over year and came in at $170 $17 million, which is definitely a substantial increase from 2019. Now, they don't break down this number specifically, and I can't imagine that they increased their staff or bought more office space to get to that number. So I would definitely like to see that number come down because that could greatly affect how and when they become profitable. Now, turning to the balance sheet, they have almost $1.8 billion in cash with only $400 million in current liabilities and only $545 million in total liability. Now, I do believe about $1.3 billion of that cash balance came from their recent IPO, but nonetheless, they have a healthy balance sheet by any standards. All right, so far we've covered the different business segments, certain Q3 metrics, the financials, and now we're going to get into the valuation and what I believe this company could become in the future. So after the drop on Monday, they have a price to sales ratio of about 40, and that's using their guidance of $750 million for 2020 revenue. Now, obviously, that's an extremely rich valuation, and unfortunately, we can't compare this to their closest competitor, Unreal Engine. But what we can do is compare this to Adobe because essentially they both have the same business model. Developers basically use both of their softwares to create things. So if we look at Adobe's valuation metrics, they currently have a market cap of $225 billion and trade at a price to sales of roughly 18. Now, of course, they are a more established company, but I seriously believe that Unity could get to a valuation similar to Adobe's because, like I've mentioned in this video and others, I see 3D, AR, and VR being the next wave of technological evolution, and Unity is right at the forefront of it. And one of the things that I like the most is that they are expanding their products to new and upcoming industries like filmmaking, automotive, and construction, which are all industries that are just starting to implement this kind of technology, so there's still a ton of growth left for this industry as a whole. So I do believe that Unity's total addressable market is going to grow substantially, and when we look back 10 years from now, I could see them being the size that maybe Adobe is now. And even if they don't make it to $200 billion, if they make it to $100 billion over the next 10 years, that's still a 3x from current levels. So overall, I do really like this company a lot, and I like that they don't really have that many competitors. And like I said at the beginning of the video, it gives me a hedge against my next tech bet. So I am definitely going to keep an eye on this company. I would like to see them get back to about $100 a share before I start a position, but they are definitely at the top of my watch list. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel because there is a ton of content coming. And if you guys have any sectors or industries that you guys are super bullish on, let me know down in the comments and I can definitely start doing some stocks on those, because at the end of the day, I want to give you guys as much value as possible. So be sure to let me know what you guys want to see. So with that, thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.